Welcome to the myCHEP introductory training session. We're going to spend approximately 30 minutes today and cover the basic operations of the myCHEP system. For further training opportunities beyond this, please utilise videos within the myCHEP system itself or look out for further online training. So firstly, what we're going to do is have a look at the home page on myCHEP, which is really the heart of the system. When you first log in, what you see on this screen is a summary of what's been happening over the last short period of time. This is completely customizable and configurable, and we'll go through and have a look at each of these functions and show you how to do that. So first thing off to the left here, you have this location card. So if you have multiple locations assigned to your login, if you open this out, you will see those locations that are assigned, and once you select on one of those, you will be able to then manage that account. Up here at the top, you'll see the recently used tiles. So what this is the most recent thing that you have gone into within the system will appear here as a tile, and you'll be able to just shortcut straight into those modules from there. Then we have the notifications panel, which resides here. It also is a replication of that up here under the bell icon, so much like your Facebooks and any of those systems online that you use today. If you open that panel out, it will have alerts and messages in there, and the most recent three will also appear in this panel here. Beyond that, you have your most recently used, the most recent transaction panels. So they relate to your issues, transfers in, transfers out, and returns. So what they are going to do, they will show you the most recent 3 transactions of that type within the last 7 days. So if you haven't had any of those transaction types within the last 7 days, these panels will be blank. Below that, you then also have any open invoices that are yet to be paid, and then any open service requests which have been generated through myCHEP. And finally, off to the left here, you have the stock balance. So what this does, this updates at this point every 8 hours, and it will become more frequent as we go further into the future, but at this point it updates every 8 hours. Now, all of these panels, as I mentioned before, are customizable. So for starters, what you can do is you can minimize any of these panels by simply clicking on the little minus button against each of these, and it will collapse those. Otherwise, what you can actually do is go in and remove them altogether. So for example, if on your account you don't do any issues and returns, you only do transfers, you can just go in and remove those panels altogether. So the way you do that is you go up to the little profile icon, the little person up the top right, click on that, and then go into Preferences. Once you go into Preferences, you'll see a section here called Homepage Preferences. And within here, you can go in and turn off any of the modules that you don't want to see on the homepage. So there's 8 modules there that you can actually turn off if you don't wish to see them. Further down to the bottom here as well, you will see the transactional email alert preferences. So what this does is every time that you raise one of these transaction types within myCHEP, you will get an email copy of that with the PDF attached to it if you have the tick boxes ticked here. So if you want to get a copy of your transfer every time you raise one, just make sure there's a tick in here. Conversely, if you don't want to get one, make sure the tick is then removed. This is also the section where you come in and change your date preferences. So by default, when you're a new user, your date format will be the international standard, which is year, month, day. If you prefer to see that in the Australian standard, you just come in here and change that format. There's a few other things in here that we will cover a little bit later on, but please, by all means, go and have a look and make any changes, preferences that you see that you wish to do. Okay, so what we'll do now, we'll have a look at some of the modules within myCHEP. So the first thing we'll look at is transfers. So under the menu here, we've organised each of the sections under their logical headers. So first things first, we'll go into transfers. Now there's 2 different types you can do here. We're not going to cover bulk transfer in this session. We'll actually cover that in an advanced session. So today we're just going to cover the standard single create transfer. So you click on that tile and you'll be presented with the transfer screen. Now what happens here is it will actually, there's a few parts here that will remember what you've done in the previous transaction. So the things that will be remembered is your movement direction, your docket number type, and your equipment that you actually used. So the last time I did a transaction here, I did a transfer in and I used these two types of equipment. You can remove or add simply by clicking the add button there or the X's to remove the ones you don't want to use. Or if you use those, it's just a matter of putting in the equipment. So let's go and raise a transaction here. So we're going to leave this as in. In the other party section, you can either open out this little card here and see transactions or trading partners that you wish to use, or you can simply type in the account number or just start typing the name and it will appear. And you click it. If you haven't actually used a trading partner before, then simply all you do is you come in, you type the 10-digit account number for that account. It will automatically search and it will appear with that trading partner there. Once you go in, you put in all your other information. We'll just put in a reference here, test. We'll put in one of those and we'll put in one of those. These three or these four boxes here are optional, so you can either put a transporter in if you do have one, and I'll show you where you can add those later on. Put in a driver, vehicle registration, and add any other notes you wish to add. Now please note, as that little star says there, notes only appear on the original PDF and will not be stored. So they will only appear the first time you print it out. After that, they will actually not be stored anywhere. So it's really just like a handwritten note field. So we'll just go and submit that. What that will do, you will then get a successful message and the transaction will be created. So you can then go and print by just clicking on the print button here, or if you need to create another one, you simply just create another transfer. So you don't need to go back through the menu or go to the home. You just click on create another transfer and it will take you through and actually create that. So that's creating a transfer, fairly straightforward. What we'll look at now is the actual correction process or managing your transactions once they're in the system. So if we go up to the view or the menu section up here, really what we want to have a look at is manage transactions. This is where you go to do any day-to-day management of the transactions. So it may be viewing it, it may be printing it, it may be correcting it. This is where you go to do that. So click and manage transactions. We're only going to cover the review modify today. The transfers requiring authorization will be a different training module, as not everybody actually uses that. So today we're just going to focus on reviewing and modifying transactions. So when you go in here, the first things, I'll just go back to clear and just bring that back to what you will see by default. So there's here, this location card is where you select which of your locations are you looking to find transactions for. So you just choose, well, in this instance, we'll leave it as default. With your search by, it's simply saying, well, what do you actually want to search for? So if you open this out, you'll get some options here. So one of the ones that by default many of you will search is by docket number. So if you want to search for a specific docket number, you simply click on that, and then you can type or paste the docket number in here. As it says, you can actually paste up to 200 docket numbers and search for 200 dockets at the same time. Please be aware on the screen, though, it will actually only return 200 lines of results. If you search for more than that, it will give you a warning to tell you that your results have been truncated in an orange box up the top. Otherwise, it will return with a green box saying it returned all of your results. But if you have a spreadsheet or a list of transactions that you want to go in and correct, you can copy and paste them into that box once you select the docket number and then search for those. This screen also returns a history of transactions as well. So if you search for an original movement and it has been corrected, it will by default show you the subsequent versions of that docket as well. So in this example, we're just going to go in and just choose by, do a search by date. So again, for your date type, you can do a number of different date types. You can do create date, delivery date, effective date, notification date. We're just going to use default to create date. We'll just do the last 7 days and just click search. Now, before I do that, there is a bunch of other options here under advanced search. So you can come in and choose transaction type. You can choose transaction status. You can lock it down to a specific other party. You can click on invoice here. If you want to see a specific invoice number, you put that specific invoice number in there. You can select equipment or country there. So we'll just leave those, we'll just reset that and leave those blank. What you would have noticed there actually, when I selected an option there, the advanced search went orange. So that's just an indicator that an advanced search has been applied. If I just go in there and reset that, you'll notice that disappears. So I'm just going to do a search for the last 7 days. Okay, so what that's now done is it's returned all of the transactions that I've created under this account for the last 7 days. What we're going to do now is have a look at what you can do with those movements. So first of all, if I have a look here, I can either scroll across and look at all the details. I can click on this little detail chevron here, which will slide in and just show me in a quick view all the details of that transaction. This is where I can actually print, so I can print from here, or I can choose to modify or reverse the movements. Or across to the right here, you'll see I also get a print button. And finally, the other thing here I wanted to show you is the POD link. So what this actually does is allows you to attach a proof of delivery document to this movement. Now, the great thing about this is if you attach it, then your trading partner, if they log into myCHEP and look at this transfer, they will also see a copy of that POD that you've attached. So if you click on this, you'll see here that you can add a POD, and when the other party logs in and they click on this button, they will see that same POD that you just loaded here under other party POD, as in the other party has updated it. So you can do that. You can attach multiple PODs. You can attach any attachment type, so PDF or a JPEG or anything you like. So that gives you just the view capabilities in here. Now, if we're going to go and actually correct those, actually one thing I will show you as well is any of these tables within myCHEP, there's 2 things that you will see across the system. So if you hover your mouse over here, you'll see that all of these are sortable. So if you click on a header up here, it will sort these movements based off that field name. So again, all of those are sortable. And also there's a little down arrow here which allows you to download the contents of this table into Excel. And up here as well, you also get the column options. So from within here, I can define which columns I do or don't want to see in my output. So I can tick or untick any that are important to me. Once you actually make those changes in the column options, if you download it to Excel, it will actually hold in that same format. So any columns you hide also will not be downloaded into the output. Okay, so 3 ways that you can actually correct a movement. So first is you can just do what we call an inline movement. So let's take this first line as an example. Say we wanted to change the quantity. You would scroll across, you would find the quantity. Let's say it was meant to be 7, not 5. You can just double click into the field, change it to 7, click out of the field, and you'll see it goes into an orange color, which is a pending or review state. Now, the reason why it does that and doesn't automatically submit, because you need to click submit before it actually goes through, is that it's now going to allow you to do multiple corrections on screen. And when you've finished making all your changes, you can then click submit. Okay, so you don't have to do one at a time. So let's say, for example, this second one, we wanted to change the material. I can click on here, double click on that, and change it to that material. It will make the change there. Then, so the next way you can do it is you can open out the details. So what I'll do is I'll find one here that's a multiple line docket, so this one here. If I click on the little chevron there for details, I will see there's 2 equipment lines as part of this transaction. If I want to go in and make a change, and I didn't want to do it in line, I wanted to go in and look in more detail, I can click on the modify here. And you'll see I get some other options here. So if you want to change the direction of a movement, so movement direction, so it should have been an out, not an in, this is where you go. So you click on that little details chevron, you come up here and you change your movement direction to out instead of in. If you want to add or delete equipment lines, this is also the way you do it. So you come in here, you can click the X to remove the equipment line, or you can click on the plus to add an equipment line. So what we'll do for this one, we'll actually remove this, and I'll just click save. it will then go and do that. And then finally, the last way you can do corrections is through what we call a mass update button, which is this one here. So with this one, please be aware you can either select all transfers in or all transfers out to do a mass update. You can't do a mix of ins and outs. What this is this is a really powerful function. So say, for example, you've got 10 dockets. All the dates were incorrect. They were all today instead of tomorrow. So what you can do, you can bring up those 10 movements. You can tick them all and say, okay, I want to do a mass update of those, and I want to change the effective date to tomorrow. Once you've done that, you click Save. I can then untick these if I wish, but if I scroll across to the right, I will see that the effective date on all 4 of those lines has now changed to tomorrow. If I've done all my corrections, I can then just click Submit. It will go through and it will make those corrections, and it will give you a successful message once that's done. So a really big time-saving feature. You no longer have to do the corrections one at a time. You can either use those mass update functions or just go through, make all your changes and submit all at the one time. So let's move on now from the transaction side, and let's have a look at the issues and returns module. So if we go back to the home, you'll notice there's a few different ways you can get in to create issues and returns. So one of the things that we did when we built this system is that we wanted to make the issues and returns module fairly simple. And so what we actually did is we modeled it around the Outlook system. So we've done it around the calendar. So to get into it, there's this Manage Calendar button, or you can go into the menu to Issues and Returns. You'll see Manage Calendar, Create New Issue, Create New Return. These other tiles, we'll cover these in the advanced module. So for this basic module, we're just going to cover the single Create Issue Return. So this calendar, Issue Return, this button here, or you'll see Create New Issue, Create New Return buttons here. They all do the same thing. They all take you to the same page. So essentially what they do, you click on any of those, it will take you to here, which is really the heart of the Issue Return module, which is the calendar. So what you'll see, very similar to the rest of the system, you'll have your location card here, which you can then change to view other locations. And then much like Outlook, you get the options down the side here, which are filters. So if I don't want to see returns, it disappears off the calendar. Or if I want to see only certain statuses of movements, you'll see if they're light blue, it just means there's no movements on your calendar with that status. So the darker blue ones are the ones that are available. And the equipment as well, you can turn on or off equipment types as well to give visibility on the calendar. So to view a movement, you simply click on the day where there is an action here, and you will see that there is information here. So you can click on that, and it will show you the details of that movement. You'll see here there's a print button where you can reprint a copy of those issue and return dockets to take into the service centres. And there is another really neat function here called Copy To. So let's say, for example, this transaction is one that you do all the time, and you wanted to go through and just create that same movement for the next 3 days. You can click on this Copy To function, and let's just say next week you wanted to create it for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You click on Validate. It will give you a chance to make a change to any references you wish to make, and then you click Submit. It has then created those 3 movements, and you'll see them here in my calendar. So I can either go and print, and print, or I can just go to the calendar and you will see those 3 have been created. So a really nice time-saving way to create movements if you do the same thing all the time. Otherwise, the other way you can do it is just go in, and if you want to do one on next Friday, you can click on here, click on the date and say, what do you want to do? Create an issue or return. In this instance, I'll create an issue. And then it's really just filling out the rest of the details. So what transport type you wish, if you want CHEP to do it, or you're going to do your own. If you're going to do your own, you'll notice that you just have to choose a plant address. Now with the plant address, if you don't know what it's called, you can search by suburb, you can search by address. If you know the code, you can type the code, whatever makes sense. In this situation, we'll just use CHEP transport. Let's add an equipment type. So we'll add pallets. do 100 of those. For the site address, you'll see that there's an address here. If you wish to add a new address, you can simply click on Add New up here. It allows you to put in your address information. You can choose it as a once-off if you just want to get it delivered to a certain place for a once-off, or you can click Save, and that will then tell us to generate that as a more permanent address for you. And once that's gone through, it will actually appear here as another address for you to select. So we're just going to select that one. For contacts, same thing. You can select one that's there, or you can add new, and again, you can save it or a once-off it. And once you've done that, it will then appear for you to select. So we'll just go through and put our delivery time window that we're looking for. We can put a reference in there, any comments we wish, and click Validate. It will just give us that information, say, yes, this is definitely what you want, and then we'll just click Submit. And it has then gone and created that movement for us. So that's how you go and do that. Now, if you realise that, okay, I think I've made a mistake, it meant to be 150, not 100, I can come in here, and as long as this movement is still in requested status, which as long as it's more than a day or two in the future, it should stay in requested status, you can come in here and you'll notice you've got a modify or a cancel button as well. Okay, so you can come in here and say, I want to modify that movement, or I can just straight out cancel it. So I'll modify it and I'll make it 150 and submit. It is now submitted, and you'll see that's now moved to 150. Okay, so that's the issues and return module. We won't go into too much more detail than that. That gives you the basics. What we'll do now is we'll have a look at the reporting module. So if we go up here, and let's go in and have a look at the reports. And what you'll see, the one we're going to cover today is just the transaction activity report. In the advanced module, we'll cover these other three, but for today, the main one that we'll cover is a transaction activity report. What you'll notice is that this is very similar to the review modify screen. The big difference here is that it's not limited to 200 lines, and it also comes from our reporting system, so it doesn't hold any of today's data. So when you're running this, please be aware that this is yesterday and backwards. But you can make this a much bigger report, and you don't have to limit it to 200 lines. The other big difference here is you can actually run a report for all of your accounts at the same time. So one of the questions we often used to get was, I have a lot of accounts that I am responsible for. People send me a docket number. I don't know which of my accounts that docket number is for. So you can simply, you can go into this report and find that out by simply going in, selecting all of your accounts, searching by docket number, and putting your docket number in there and running, and it will actually then return that for you. If you just want to do a normal report for a single account, you can come in and just select your one account. Again, you can do all the same things that you used to be able to do or you can do in the review modify. You can search by docket number, references, any of the like. I'm just going to leave that as none. You put in your date range again. You can select either a last 7 days, 14 days, 30 days, or you can put a user-defined date. I'm just going to do the last 7 days, and I'll click Run. What you'll see, I get an option to email the report or run it. So again, if it's a really large report, you can just say straight up, just email it to me. I'm just going to run this one because it's relatively small. And it's just going to give you that information. What you can also do is under the advanced search section, you can come in here and do all the same features as you could do in the review modify. So it's exactly the same filters in there. You can do invoice number as well, and put all that information in and run that. Again, all of these are sortable. Again, you can download it straight to Excel from there. Okay, so the other thing that we'll cover, this is pretty much the end of the transaction activity report. It's fairly straightforward. I'd like to go into the financials module now and just give you a little bit of visibility on that. So if we go into here under financials, what you'll see is this houses all of the financial information for your account. So all your account details, your credit controller, any outstanding balances on your account. It will show you your last few invoices any payments and statements. So with that, with your view invoices, you can click on that, and this will allow you to search for any invoices here. So if I just open this out, I'll do a larger date range and click search. Okay, so let's try a little bit further into the past. Okay, so I get some invoices here. So what you'll see under the output column here, you can go in and click on any of these hyperlinks, and that will actually allow you to download the invoice itself. So the PDF is our existing invoice type. EMC is actually an interactive invoice. So for those of you who started using that, you can go in here and actually just download that straight from here. Again, you can download this table to Excel, and these columns are sortable. For those who would like to use the interactive invoice offline, you do need to have the interactive invoice reader installed. So this is another place you can come in and download this reader. So what we'll then do is just quickly go back and have a look at a couple of the administration features of myCHEP. Again, we'll cover the administration in much more detail in the advanced module, but there is a couple of things that I'd like to show you. So under administration, you'll see a manage locations tile. So by clicking on that, what you can see is for your account, so again, you can select your account up there, you can see which materials are available for you to use within myCHEP. Now, this doesn't lock your account down to these equipment types, but what it does do is just gives you visibility through the myCHEP system to create issues and returns or create transfers for those equipment types. So if there is an equipment type that's missing from there, you can request for that to be added by simply clicking on that and putting in the information there and sending that request. That will actually send it to our customer services team to add that. Conversely, you can just call them and they can do it over the phone for you immediately. If you click here under transporters, this here is where you go in and add a transporter. So remembering back to the transfers module where you could select the transporter, this is where you go in and add the transporters so that they are visible in that module. Under contacts here, this information is where, and you'll notice here under order contacts, there's just one. So under the issues and returns module, the contacts that were visible for you to select, they are being drawn from here. So this is another place, if you didn't want to do it as you were going in issues and returns, you can come in here and do it through here. The advanced correction contact, what this does is by adding your contacts in here, this will create you as a contact visible to your trading parties throughout other parts of the myCHEP system. And again, we'll cover that in more detail in the advanced module, but this is a good place to come in and add yourself in here if you are the trading partner contact. So the other part here is the addresses, which again in the issue return module you would have seen where I opened that card out to look at the addresses. Those addresses are drawn from here. So the last part in the administration that I want to show you is the manage other parties. So if we go back to the administration and go manage other parties, what you'll see here is your last 12 months worth of trading partner history. So any trading partners you've dealt with in the last 12 months will appear in this list. You can create filters on these. So in this instance, I've just got it filtered to those parties that I receive from. And again, all of these are sortable. You can go in here and by clicking on the details, you'll actually see any details associated with that trading partner. So with this one here, you'll see Chanel Bernard added. So what this is being drawn from is that advanced correction contact that I showed you in manage locations. So by filling that out, this is where the other party will get your contact details. So again, this is just an area to have a look at that. Within the system itself, when you're doing your transfers or when you're doing your reports and it talks about your trading partner listing, what that actually is doing is it's drawing your trading partners from anyone you've dealt with in the last 12 months. So this list in this screen here will also replicate that. So that pretty much covers the main things that I wanted to talk about today. The other thing that I guess I wanted to really draw out was the fact that what we've developed here is developed on what we call a responsive layout, which means that it is available on mobile and tablet. Now, with the exception of the bulk transfers function, all of the other functions that you see here today are available on your mobile or tablet. And we do have a number of customers using it in that way. So when they're out on the road or whether they're out in the field or any other sort of situation like that, they can actually still go in, they can create transfers, they can query transfers, they can do all those sorts of things on the move. So please, by all means, we do have some information available on how to set this system up on your mobile device, which is on our CHEPedia website. So please take the time to do that. Finally, I'll just show you where the online guides are in the system. So two ways you can get to it, either from the menu under Help and Support, or you can see this little help icon up the top right. So if you click on that, you'll see this box comes up with all the contact numbers, but you'll also see FAQs and online guides. So if we click on online guides, you'll see under here will be all the key headers. So if I click on, say, for example, transfers and corrections, it will show me all the videos that are available for that. So anything with a little play icon is a little video. So please take some time and go and have a look at those videos, because that will be a really good little training tool for you. Finally, please keep an eye out, because we are going to be doing more of these sessions, and we will be doing the advanced training module as well as some other core modules as they become available. So please take the time to jump on and do those, and if there's anything else that we can assist with, please feel free to send us some feedback, which you can do on the home page up under this little website feedback button here. You can send the feedback through here, or by all means contact your account representative and they'll be able to assist you. Thanks for your time.